Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can go ahead and create and set up Entra Domain Services within Microsoft Entra ID, right? Now, earlier it used to be a part of Azure subscription, but now it has been into the Azure AD or Entra ID side, right? And also, it gives an capability to create and manage it from Entra side because as soon as we have the Entra ID and Azure subscription linked together, right? So that is also very important. So that's a kind of providing elevated access to Azure subscription from Entra ID side in order to manage all the roles and resources respectively. If we have set that up, that means we would be able to go ahead and create Entra Domain Services and all other capabilities, including PIM for different roles management, different activities management, and different actions altogether for the Azure subscription altogether, right? So I'm going to show you a bit of that as well, and then how we should be able to go ahead and create Entra Domain Services as well, right? So we can decide that in the uh, both side where what configuration we really need to set up during the Entra Domain Services creation, right? And whether it is NTLM or LDAP or whatever it is, right? So without wasting much time, let's jump on and I'll show you how we can do that one. All right, so let me share my screen here and perfect. So I'm on the Entra portal and you can see it's a Entra admin center where we can simply go through all of these different capabilities and do a lot of activities, right? But for now, I'm just going to move to the domain services, which is over here. And you can see it's currently blank. There's nothing much created. But one thing you would notice is that there's a subscription which is linked to this Entra subscription or Entra domain or Entra ID basically. And there's a directory plus subscription setting if in case we wanted to manage it, right? So that's also possible, and we can, as soon as we click it, it's going to be showing up that there as well, right? So once we do that, it should be ready. I'll just go back and come back to this page again, and we should be good. Perfect. So once we are here, you can see that this it says no Enter Domain Services to display, right? And as soon as we are here, we can simply go ahead and create one, right? And as soon as I click on this button, or here's also a create button, right? And to do that, we can simply click on create, and it's going to be giving or moving us to the next step where the same method or same way that we would be looking at or we would see when we create Entra Domain Services in Azure portal, right? And if I have to show you the same from the Azure portal as well, I can simply head over to portal.azure.com and search for Entra Domain Services there, and I can simply create as well. Let's say I wanted to Entra Domain Services, right? So this is the Enter Domain Service over here. And it's going to show you the similar format, but this is something which is from Azure side. And if I have to go ahead and create from here, it is also going to be the same, right? So you would see all those steps, including basic networking, administration, synchronization, and security, and all those options. But as soon as I create the same from Entra ID or Entra Admin Center, then the same is going to be replicated over here under the Azure portal because we have integrated it with Entra domain or Entra admin portal, right? And it's going to be allowing us to manage and create and everything together, right? And that way it's going to allow us to set it up, right? So I'm going to show you this, and there's nothing much difference over here. Only the thing is that the purpose of this video is to show how you can go ahead and create it from Entra admin portal or Entra admin center instead of you if you have appropriate roles and permissions and access levels on Azure side, that would also be good one to go ahead and create one. And if not, then probably you would have some of the permissions where you would be able to go ahead and create uh, Entra Domain Services from Entra ID side, right? So this way it is going to be definitely be easy and straightforward for the pros to go ahead and do it. All right, so let's go ahead and go through each of these tabs over here. So I'll start from creating resource group, and I'll give it a name, Entra Domain Services, and it should be okay. Perfect. Now I'm going to keep this a domain name or DNS name for this, as I have added this domain in this tenant, right? And that is why it's going to be used there. Even we can put some other also. And you can see there is a small pop-up which says help me choose the DNS name as well. So you can go through these details, and there are some of the hyperlinks as well, which can help us to understand and identify what is really needed in what use cases or requirements, basically, right? And then we can go ahead and select the region, which region we wanted to deploy Entra Domain Services and SKUs. So there are three different SKUs for the Entra Domain Services, including standard, enterprise, and premium. So each enterprise or each SKU has different capabilities, different feature sets, and those would be used based on the needs and requirements of the organization, right? Now there would be a question why I should enterprise and why not standard, or why I should use standard and why not premium, right? So those would be the questions, and definitely that also needs to be assessed as per needs and requirements of the organization instead of using a standard or enterprise or premium. And anyone or anything can be used, but definitely that's something needs to decide, and based on a use case and business needs and requirements, each organization has to assess it and then take the appropriate plan. But for now, I'm going to select the standard one, and we should be good here to move ahead. Click next. So once we are here on the networking section, it also needs the networking capabilities in order to communicate with your on-premises environment, right? When we wanted to synchronize identity or workloads and everything together, then we would need that as well. So it is going to create by default Azure AD DS VNet. If in case we wanted to use that, we can use it. But if we wanted to create our own, we can simply go ahead and click create new option button here. And then it's going to allow us to create our own. And then we can put a address range and then specific address range as well on the subnet side as well, right? So that is something which we can put, but we have to make sure that the range is appropriate and enough, and it is not overlapping with any other virtual networks across Azure, right? So that it is not a conflicting between connections and any other connectivity that we have built or we are going to build, right? And that way we have to set it up appropriately. For now, I'm going to keep it as is. And then you can see the subnet as well, which is created and added with this virtual network. And here's the option as well. It says that help me choose the subnet and NSGs, right? So you can choose and set up as per needs again what you are trying to do with NSGs, right? And what you wanted to put as a subnet and address space in order to use, and that should be allowed to communicate within your network as well as your uh, other services if you have deployed any other services within Azure environment, right? So based on that, you can go ahead and select and choose that one. Click next one. So here you will see the administration tab, and here it's going to give you option who should be able to manage these Entra Domain Services servers, right? So basically, there would be either we can add one or two groups and add few people to those groups, and also notification wise, there are two notification options, which is member of ADDS administrator groups as well as global admin of Entra ID directory. So these people would be notified if in case anything is going to be happening or anything on warning or critical level alerts, those would be notified to these people. Also, we can add any other people or users to be part of this notifications, right? So this way we should be good to add and they will also be notified if in case anything matches with the criteria, right? And here's also option for us to choose who gets notifications on that. And this is going to be giving you the clarification, or if you have any questions, any doubts, you can also refer these links and details, right? The next is synchronization. So under here, we have synchronization types, all our cloud only users, along with the filters. Filters allows us to select only the respective groups, whichever we wanted to select and target it, right? And not any cloud users or not all users basically, right? Because we don't want to focus all users in the pilot deployment or pilot implementation. We should definitely be go with a group, and either that can be a cloud only group and this just provide that respective group and it should be good to go, right? So that way it's going to allow us to make use of that and we should be good with it, right? So for now I'm going to see or select only the cloud only and that should be good. Even you can understand more on here on the synchronization setting, right? It gives a bit of more details that is very helpful to understand and is going to help and provide more details on it. Click next and move to the security setting. So now you see a bunch of setting over here under NTLM, V1 authentication, and then Kerberos RC4 encryption and LDAP, right? Now you would also see there is a small icon which says help me choose strong cipher, right? And basis on that, you can select the appropriate and understand which one is going to be used for what methods or capability, right? So if you wanted to use NTLM version 1 authentication, simply enable it. If not, you can disable it. Similarly, on the NTLM password synchronization from on-premises, that's also enable disable option. Kerberos RC4 encryption is set to either disable or enable as per needs again. And LDAP, along with LDAP channel banding, enable or disable, right? So now there might be a question, which option or which capability I am going to choose or why I should choose one, right? Now it totally depends on the systems and applications and all those kind of requirements, right? S- So in that case, you need to understand what's the purpose of Entra Domain Services, why we are spinning up one in the cloud instead of leveraging and using on-premises AD for either for NTLM authentication or Kerberos or LDAP, right? And all of these are the different capabilities which gives the options and ways for us to authenticate the systems and applications which are sitting on top of these capabilities in order to authenticate and provide application level accesses, right? If there is a really genuine use case and for those applications we wanted to move out of on-premises AD to the cloud, and but in the cloud is pure modern one, so we really don't have options to go with this. We have options, but definitely we have to spin up virtual machines, virtual servers, and then install all other capabilities over there and do the same setup which was there in the on-premises. But that's something that's similar, and it's also going to be different ways in order to management and capabilities and system security and patching and all other things would also become in picture, right? But to avoid that, Enter Domain Services is the one where it's going to allow us to simply use Enter Domain Service and also leverage all of these capabilities, right? And it's going to provide us all those capabilities where we wanted to simply do the lift and shift of our on-premises applications, authentications, and all those capabilities which really needed for those systems, because we wanted to reduce our on-premises footprint at one point, but at the same time, we wanted to use and keep using the same capability which were there in the on-premises environment in the context of identity access management and authentication services, right? And that is why Entra Domain Services is going to be the key or game changer in this capability, right? And once we do that, that means we have different options here to use for authentication mechanisms, be it LDAP, be it NTLM, be it Kerberos, right? And all of that can be decided and set up as per needs. It is not something like we should use everything or all of these options. No, it totally depends on how we wanted to use and if there is a really need of it, right? So basis on that, we should definitely decide and set it up, right? So once we do that, we are good here to set it up and should be ready for our usage. So for now, I'm just going to keep it as is or set it up enabled for all of these options and move to the next one. And next is just a tag where we can simply put some tagging to identify these resources, right? So I'll just put something like Entra DS and I'll put it something like Infra IT, right? So this is owned by Infra IT team, right? They are the owners for this. So I'll just put that something here for identification purpose, right? So let's move to the next one where it's going to simply validate whatever we have configured and put together. And then once we are ready, it's ready and it's going to allow us to go ahead and create one, right? So as soon as it created, it's going to create some of the resources in Azure subscription, right? So what are those resources? Create, it's going to create two different Entra Domain Services servers, right? And on top of that, it would have all those capabilities which are enabled over here, right? And also whatever the scope we have assigned here to synchronized identities, right? So including a specific group. And here you can see we have selected only cloud only users, and under filter we have not selected any group. So that means whatever the users are there in the cloud, all those users would be a part of that synchronization as well, right? So this is also very important to understand from the point of view what exactly is going to happen when we create or configure the entire domain services, right? And basis on that, you can go ahead and take the next steps in order to set it up with your on-premises environment to synchronized local environment. Or basically, as soon as you have hybrid environment between on-premises AD to the environment, including Entra ID, right? So all those identity would be synchronized from Entra ID to the inter-domain services, and then it's going to allow organizations or us to set up the application authentication mechanisms and everything together. And then we can do the cutover of on-premises AD, basically, right? And we can keep using inter-domain services for all those scenarios and requirements, right? So there are different use cases, and definitely it's worth discussing all those use cases for inter-domain services, but I did not cover all of those here. I just wanted to show you how we can go ahead and create from the Entra domain or from Entra admin side with Entra domain services and use it, right? So, yep, that is what I wanted to show you and talk about. And hope that is helpful. Hope that is going to give you some of the learnings and experience as well. And let me know if you have any questions, any doubts, anything about this one, and would be happy to answer any of those. And would be happy to collaborate anything on that if you have anything, right? So, yep, that's all. And don't forget to like this video, share it to the friends, people around you, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well, right? So that's going to give you every new video whenever it is available and uploaded. So yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching and bye for now.